Welcome back to my Lobotomy Corporation bedtime story reading. This is Hitori, and I'll be helping you fall asleep with some ambient audio and awesome OST from our favorite game as I learn more about Lobotomy Corporation's abnormalities. In the last video, we read about the dream of a black swan. This time, it will be Snow White's apple. This is now the 56th Abnormality in Love Corp reading. Check the entire playlist on the card on the upper right of this video. Let's begin. Snow White's apple. F-04-42 is a humanoid abnormality with an apple for a head. She's incredibly tall, with a neck and arms that appears to be made of thorned flower stalks. She wears a long red dress with white puff sleeves, a white waist apron, and what appears to be a large dress collar of wilted leaves. Her head has hollow eye sockets and nasal apertures that were said to have been eaten by worms and birds. Ability. Snow White's apple's ability will trigger once her Qliphothr counter reaches 0. Her Qliphothr counter can decrease in the following ways. Decrease by 1 with 50% chance when getting a normal work result. Decrease by 1 with 70% chance when getting a bad work result. Once the condition is met, she will teleport out of her room and appear in a random hallway or small room of the current department and sprout vines from the floor. She has high HP at 800. Employees who walk on the vines will have reduced movement speed, and Snow White's apple will attack them with sharp vines, dealing strong 20 to 26 black damage every 4 seconds, as long as she is in the same room. Once the room's floor is covered by vines for the first time, or an amount of time passes, Snow White's apple will disappear from the current room and appear in another area of the facility, repeating the same actions until she is subdued. The vines will be removed in the next day. Story. When the prince kissed the princess, she coughed up the bits of an apple stuck in her throat. The dwarfs cried out in happiness. Snow White and the prince walked through a flower-covered path and headed to their kingdom. Everyone lived happily ever after. Then there was the apple, created from the witch's wrath and curse. It was also a part of herself. The apple that dropped from Snow White's hand after a single bite could never be happy. The apple, full of loneliness and hatred towards the princess, waited for the day it would rot away and return to the earth. Was it the enchantment, or was it the wrath which was bending the laws of nature? Even after enough time had passed for it to rot and allow its seed to bear fruit, the apple did not rot. In the meantime, one half of it was kicked and crushed by someone's foot. The other half was filled with holes, eaten away by the likes of birds and bugs. The carcasses of birds and bugs piled up near the apple. The apple pondered about its existence in the midst of the corpses rotting around it. One day, a branch grew from it. The leaves and branches were already withered and dry, but it continued to grow. Finally, one afternoon, the apple gained the ability to move on its own. It thought of the princess and the prince who left happily. Snow White had also been sleeping for a long time, but a prince came and woke her up. The apple, now a princess in its own right, no longer needed a prince. She began to embark on a journey. Excerpt from the Hidden Stories in Fairy Tales No One Knew. Author unknown. Trivia. Snow White's apple is a reference to the German fairy tale Snow White, written by the Brothers Grimm. Snow White's apple will almost always face to the right side of the screen when escaping. Snow White's apple made an appearance in the teaser trailer. In one scene, she was in a falling elevator, attempting an escape with 3 employees in the elevator with her, one of which was stuck in her eye. However, in-game, Snow White's apple is incapable of entering elevators during breach, even in the legacy version. I wasn't very sure of my feelings when I first got this abnormality. It looked really odd, and I also thought that it might be one of those magical girl, but it isn't. It's just Snow White's apple. Also, I thought it would be nice for me to make her level up my employees, because she seems to have like abnormality work favors in instinct, insight, and repression. But let's not forget that the chance of her getting her Glypoth counter decreased by 1 on a normal work result is actually 50%. And when she comes out, it's actually quite difficult to suppress her with all of her vines, because the fact that you employees will have to walk on the vines will have a very slow movement speed. And then Snow White's apple will not have to do anything but just attack them with the sharp vines. So I do not recommend this abnormality at all, even if you think that it would be nice to train your employees with her instinct, insight, and repression work. It did say here that if you're level 5 in repression, she has like high favor for the abnormality work, but there were still chances that she would get a normal work result and she would be out there causing chaos. I do not recommend this abnormality in your facility, quite honestly, but if you have tips or interesting details about this abnormality, please comment about it down below. If you like, you can also catch my stream on Twitch and here on YouTube so you can assist me if you're a veteran in the game. If you want more Project Moon content from me, please don't hesitate to like the video. You can also support me further with my Patreon. Also, don't forget to subscribe. I'd like to thank all my current Patreon supporters that are shown on the screen, as well as my Twitch subscribers. Want to always let you know that I appreciate everything you do for me, truly. This thanks is also extended to you who's currently watching. Anyway, until next time, I hope you rest easy.